All right, hello everyone. This is Brody from Silver Star Media Productions. Today I want to kind of start talking about lighting, just kind of swaying away from our normal audio production stuff that we usually do. But I also do a lot of lighting design and stuff like that. So today I think we can kind of introduce a lot of the pro world of lighting, but also I want to go over just some programming stuff. It's going to be kind of a deeper level of stuff, or if you will, compared to uh, audio, what we usually do. But I hope you can follow along. And as always, please leave stuff in the chat for me to look at and to touch on. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and let's start by taking a look at the lighting rig itself. So this is a previs software called Capture. Previs is essentially where you take what you're going to be working with and you put it into software as 3D objects, and they emulate the real fixtures, the real lights, if you will. And so that way you can kind of see what everything's going to look like, and how it's going to behave prior to actually working with it. So this is the rendered version of the lighting rig. Um, so here we have, this is my church I work at. This is their lighting rig that I just designed, and this weekend's going to be the first weekend working with it in real life, so that'll be pretty cool. I'll leave a link to them down in the description. But if I let me pull up here, this is the non-rendered portion of Capture. So this will actually let you see like plots, fixtures, and what's going on as far as like where stuff is mounted on pipe, and as well as where it's patched into, and all kinds of information about the fixtures. So this is what a design consists of. It consists of 3D objects. It consists of the patch, which is a way of telling the fixtures where they need to be connected to be controlled. The circuits, the positioning, and then eventually they get labeled and they'll get actually put on this bar, and the actual design will be built. So I mean, that's pretty neat. So, um, what else do we have here? Um, as far as the design, let's talk about control. So I use Grandame. Grandame is the leading lighting control system provider in the world. They basically have systems that are on some of the biggest shows in the world. MA2 is the most popular platform they offer right now, but they came out with MA3 a few years ago, and that's actually what I'm using right now to program everything, just because that is what the church that I work with has, and I've had a really good time learning it, and it's probably the most complex lighting control software out there. So as I'm learning this, I'm also trying to pick up other softwares. But yeah, so let's take a look real quick at Grandame. Here's Grandame, what it looks like. This is called a show file. So a show file contains all of your stuff that you use to control your lighting. So if you are actually aware or more versed in lighting, you would probably recognize a lot of this. But let me load the show file that I use. That's going to be this one right here. And yeah, so I've been working on this for, I'm working on a song right now for Sunday. Like I said, we just built this design that we were working with. So it's going to be really exciting actually getting to see it work in real life. So that's why I've been working really tirelessly to create a very nice and intense programming to start off the unveiling, if you will, of the rig. So, let's see. One thing I need to do is I need to get Capture talking to Grandame. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go and set up my network output. So I'm going to send data to that IP address. Alright, and make sure that I actually have data going out. I don't. Now I do. So, yeah. Okay, that looks interesting, to say the least. I'm not sure what's going on here. Capture. Oh, no, it is. We need to go to... Oops, don't want to do that. Go to DMX universes and SACN universe should be 2 and 3. Maybe it is 1 and 2. That looks somewhat better. Yeah, that's right. I'm curious as to why. Let me go DMX protocols, local universe 1, SACN universe 2. So that should do that. So now I should be able to do this. There we go. So that is good. So now if I go ahead and pull up OBS here and I switch back to capture, you can see we actually have some stuff going on. So we get some lights moving in a circle there and some color patterns happening. Pretty cool. So yeah. Let me go ahead real quick. I need to set up a screen in which you can see capture and MA. So I'm just going to go here. And I'm going to go to this, and I want to make sure you guys can see MA as well. So I'm going to add a display. And let me just shrink it a bit. We want to see what's going on too. So it's going to cover up a little bit of what's going on here, but we don't really need me. We can just look at that. All right, that should be better. All right, so now let's talk a little bit about what's going on as far as the programming for the song. Also, I'm going to put something up on these panels here. I forgot to mention there's also an LED wall, so that's pretty neat. That's a whole animal of its own, to be honest. That should be playing. It's not. I know why. Materials, video wall, texture, media, video wall. And now we should have like a pink background up there. Good. Alright, we can full screen that. Alright, everything looks alright there. That's good. Alright, so now let's have some fun. So if we go to this cue stack, this is a list of cues for this song. I normally don't do this kind of cue to cue programming unless I'm doing something like theatrical stuff, like a play. But if I am, this is really helpful. Unless I haven't currently built out my Busk file a ton, so that means I can't do a lot of stuff on the fly yet. So I have to do a lot of it in pre-programming just because the Busk file is just not where it needs to be yet. So as far as this song, this is Anything Is Possible by Bethel Music. It's a pretty good song. But we're unveiling, like I said, kind of unveiling the rig. Let me turn that off. So this is a very intense piece of programming. One thing I forgot to show you all. When I'm touching buttons and stuff like that to program, that's what I'll be doing is manipulating faders and everything on this actual command wing, just because that corresponds to the software, and obviously you're going to want to have, it just helps speed up programming. So, anything is possible. Let's see, I'm trying to figure out the best way to go through this with you all. let's just kind of talk through what's going on as far as the keys. I'm not going to just play the song and show you all the programming because that's kind of boring. So let me go ahead and bring the sequence master up. And then, so right now what I just did when I brought that sequence up is I essentially put all the lights into position. If I bring this up so you can kind of see the lights up there. Hold on, let me get some ambient lighting in here. And ambient lighting, 100%. Now, if I bring up the sequence master, you can see all the lights move into place without turning on yet. And that's called a marking cue, because we want to make sure the lights are all where they're supposed to be before we start. That way we don't have to see them moving without wanting to. So that's what we call a marking cue. It marks where they're supposed to be. Alright, so now Q1 brings up our wash fixtures. We have our floor washes, and then we have our air washes. These are really similar to like Mac Auras where they have a backlight. So the ones in the air aren't actually, their primary dimmer is not sending any light, but the secondary one is. That's why it's kind of like a glowing ring, but it's not actually sending any light out, whereas the bottom ones are just using the primary section. And then as soon as we end the first verse, you can see it says end of verse 1. That just basically brings in the primary dimmers on those air lights. And then in about 6 seconds, you can see we have an automated cue that goes and then brings them to full. They kind of make a slow fade in. Alright, that's all the second verse looks like this. And then after that, we go into the chorus prep. And that's basically zooming these lights in, bringing in those strobes, and then it's moving them to a new position. So you can see they all kind of go in, they tighten the beam, and then the strobes turn on, they face out. And then the chorus is a lot. So as soon as we go to the chorus, the strobes are going to come on. So it's going to look like this. So what happened there, the strobes came on, those lights at the top chased across, turn on, and then the chameleons started flashing. And then the chorus again basically just does a color wipe across those washes. So it just takes a color and applies it to them, but it applies them to them delayed across. And then we have this hold cue, which basically just takes these down, brings those out, and then that should not be happening. I have to fix that. So the hold cue, if I go to it, should bring those down. And then let's just go to verse. What I can do, and that should take those out. And that should be a go cue. Yeah, so I'm just going to copy all that data into Q13. So I'm going to take 460s and put that into Q13. And then I'm going to do same with the gobo. And now I should be able to remove them from Q12. So I'm just going to go 460s, remove fixture. Yeah, 101 through 104, and that should remove all their values, and we can store that into Q12. So now that's giving us a place to start. Those should be down, and then once we get to the verse, they should move up. And then all I need to do now is just make sure that the 460s turn to 0. And then I can store that into Q13. And if I go to Q13, they're still doing that. No, Q12 they need to turn down. My bad. So, oops that out. So I should go to Q11. That's going to be our floors blind. And then, yeah, that looks right. So hold. Floors blind. And then those should just turn off. Yeah, that looks about right. Okay, and then the arenas should do that. Yeah, that looks right. That's our chorus look. And then we have these come in at the second half of the chorus. I'll label that. Chorus. Wish I could spell. And then post-chorus will be taking these down. Simple. Bridge 2. So what I need to do is store the position data. Stomp these. And store that into Q16. So now if I go back, what's going on with that? I'm going to just start over here, because I had this issue yesterday as well. So I just need to remove the fixtures from Q16 and 17. So 460 air, remove fixture 101 through 104, and store that to Q, oops, store that to Q16 and 17. And if we merge that in, they should be doing nothing now, or, well, something. So we have let's go to back all the way here. The verse, they should fade out, yep. And then the 460 should come in, yep. And post-chorus, I need them to come back to home. That's like a 5-second fade. So I'm just going to take them and put them here. And then that's what I want in key 16. So now if I go back, up here, and then they should come back down the end of the chorus. And let's have them fade out too. So then we also need to apply 0%. So that into Q16. Now if we go to Q15. So our chorus still, and then end of the chorus, you should come down and out. Yeah. And then we'll go to the bridge Q. I'm basically going to make a Q that has them already running the phaser. So I'm just going to take these guys, put them at full for now. That's exactly what I needed to do. So that's right. Okay, so I just need to put them at 100% in Q17, because it looks like they're running the phaser. 100%. Store Q17. Yep, that's right. And this should stomp them. And they should come up. Yep. Yep, that's all right. And then a marking should happen. And then we should go to the end of the chorus, which really just like pans those and then runs that circle effect. Okay, that fixed everything. I also want to pan the floors, so it's gonna go or a circle on the floors. So let me solo those. Go to our phaser, select the circle effect. I called it an effect. I don't want them doing the same thing, so I'm just gonna go to phase. Position. And let's do 180 so that they should be mirroring each other. Ish. Yeah, that's fine. Let's throw that into Q21, merge that in, and now if we, on the solo, and then I built this flash effect that looks like that. And it looks better, to be honest, when it's cranked up to speed like that. It's much more of a strobe. It's going to be a lot for this, but just because there's like a drum break in between, so I want to run that flash. And then last thing we got is the same, everything's the same except for some color effects going on here. There's actually some teal accents in the video, but you can't really see them on this previs, but in real life they're very visible. So yeah, that's it. And then we run this little flash occasionally. Yeah, and that's really that song. And then the ending is just, should bring everything down, fade those out. I do need to stop the effect because I added that. So we'll just take those, stop the effect, and then update ending. Yay, and that's our ending look. Okay, simple enough. So that's kind of all the work I had to do to touch up that song. That only took like, what, 30 minutes maybe? 15 minutes? I don't know. So the next thing that I want to do is look at... actually, one second. I'm going to take a drink. I don't want you to have to listen to that. Alright, sorry about that. So the next thing I want to look at is I'm going to basically clean up the message looks, and then I also need to do some stuff with some flash effects to add, and just to kind of clean up my phasers as well. So what we need to do now, let's take a look at the message look. So busking is kind of where you have all these pieces that we just programmed together, but you have them spread out across these faders and buttons, and you can turn them on and off, make them faster or slower, bring the intensity up or down, whatever you want to manipulate. You can do it on the fly, basically, to create adaptive, dynamic, or static looks of your choice as you go. And that's kind of the idea behind it, is it's a way to not have to go through the pre-programming process, because I've gotten so used to busking. Like yesterday when I first started this, about 8 o'clock, it took me a good 30 minutes just to get my the marking cue that puts everything where it needs to be in position, whereas if I was busking it, I could have put 3 faders up and pushed 2 executors and everything would have been there. So, I mean, I kind of prefer it now just because I've done it so much. But let's take a look at the message slash welcome look. So I'm going to kill this sequence. I'm going to pull up this sequence, which needs a little bit of work. So the first thing I want to do is look at it. So we just literally have, I'm going to call this going to be welcome. Actually, I'm going to delete these. Delete Q1 and 2. Yep, we need to start from scratch. So essentially this is just going to have some data that tells the 2 460s on the sides to turn on. It's going to tell them to go here. It's going to tell them to zoom out because we don't want them too tiny. And we need to focus them. I know in real life, real focus is about 44. And then we're basically going to put what we call a frost on them, which doesn't really look like that. It's just the thinking that's just gonna be like a it doesn't look like this. I'll tweak it when I get there, but it's gonna look something like this. So we'll just throw that into Q1. And then also what it needs to do is it needs to turn off the other 460s. So basically it needs to take 102 and 103, put them at 0, and we need to have that in there. And that should do it for that. And then the next thing we need is the message look, which is just going to be some position stuff. So we'll just take all these, put them at full. And we don't want the floors there. We want those here. Probably. Yeah, let's put them here. So for my message look, I want those 460s, and then I want all my chameleons. I don't know what color yet. Let's say purple. Let's put the floors as purple, and the airs is like that color, because I have yet to see the background, so I can match it. And then we also need to bring the floor lights in. Let's put them about 50%, and let's put them. I'm going to do a fan out, or straight, or cross in. Let's do a fan out, I think. That's a good complement, and we want to do a frost on that too. A frost just kind of makes the beam look a little less harsh, if you want to be honest. And let's put a dimmer at about 40%. Again, not that bright in real life, just how it looks in the programmer. And we should be able to store Q2. So we should call this welcome, and that should be called message. Yay. And that position thing is more of an overwrite because we do this. It's called highest takes. Is it highest? What is this? Latest takes precedence. I think is how this is set. So that means there could be one sequence telling the chameleons or the washes to be at a certain position, but since this sequence, when I turn it on, will be the latest piece of data in that stream of data, it's going to listen to that because the latest takes precedence. If that makes sense. So we got that. Let's work on some flash effects. Actually, you know what? First, I'm going to go over my busking layout on the board, just because that's probably important. You don't need to see the previs for this, but what we have, I'm going to go left to right. These are all my position sequences. So these are the spots on the floor, the spots in the air, the washes, in the strobes, these faders, and then I can basically just push these buttons to next through where I want them. So that's pretty easy. Up here, these are some LED effects that I don't use yet because the LED strips are not built. This is that one flash effect that I have built. These are all the dimmers. So this is the color dimmer for the arenas. These are all the group masters for the spots in the air, spots on the floor, washers in the air, washers on the floor, so I can control every group's level. And if I want to do individual fixtures, I can always set that up if I need it. And this is the front wash level. Up here are position effects. So I have a pan for spot air, spot floor, wash, and I have a tilt effect for spot air. No spot floor yet. I'm going to make that wash air, wash floor. So that's kind of the left side. Over here on these executors, I have more sequences. These are all dimmer effects. So I have a blinder, some color bumps. I have a dimmer effect on the strobes, like a dimmer chase, dimmer effect on the washes, or the spots, sorry, I gotta fix that too. And then I got a dimmer effect on the washes, dimmer effect on the washes on the floor, and then this this toggles executor time on and off. So there's fade times in every sequence, but this is like a manual override. So this fader, I turn this on, and then this basically listens to this fader. So if this is set to 10 seconds, that means everything's going to take 10 seconds of fade time. If this is at 0, it means everything's going to happen instantly. and I can toggle that on and off as I need it to do like special moments. Like say I want the lights to slowly come up from the floor, or like from straight down all the way out to the ceiling. I can just like set this to 20 seconds, turn this on, and then go to that position, and it'll take a long time to get there. Whereas like normally it would just take 2 seconds. So that's kind of like how that could be useful. This is a tap tempo. They call it learn speed. House lights, haze. This is chameleon floor positions or wash floors, so I can push this and they'll move to where they need to be, essentially. And that's a menu button. And this is a dimmer wheel. And this is a keypad. Everything else is just kind of functions, and then these encoders correspond to the encoder bar at the bottom of the software with like all these different values in it. So like when I manipulate all of these different things, you can see I'm clicking through, that corresponds to these encoders. So that's what the layout on the board. Yeah, so if we go over to MA again, and this time we are gonna do some busking with, we're gonna set up some new stuff in busking. So I'm gonna go ahead and move this, I'll make this the spot flash, put it right there, and I need to name it. Right now it flashes the strobes too, so I need to get that out of there. To do that, I'm just going to select it. I'm going to select these, and I'm gonna again go remove those. Wait, no, I can't do that. I gotta go remove fixture. Type in the IDs 401 through 404. And then store that into Q1. So removing a fixture is just taking the software, telling it to just not do anything in regards to that fixture. It's just like leave this variable alone. Don't tell it to go up. Don't do anything to it. Like take it out. That's what removing a fixture. So now if I do this, it should be just the spots, and it just is the spots. So that's good. Excuse me. And if I do, next thing I want to do is the washes. So I'm just gonna take all my washes, put them at full. Step 2 in this phaser, I want to put them at 0. At 0. There we go. So now they're running that effect. And I want to make this, see how this is a triangle wave and it's fading in? I want it to be a snap. So to do that, I'm going to go to dimmer, I'm going to go to phase, or no, I'm going to go to transition. I'm going to set to 0. So now it's like a PWM. And I'm going to go to step 1 and do the same thing. So now it should be entirely high, low. And then I'm simply going to increase the speed to about 450 BPM. And then I'm going to go to phase. And this. So now it's like a chase. I don't really want it to be a chase though. I want it to be that. I'm going to go to shuffle. Now I'm going to do the phase. That way it should look random. That's what I want, like a random strobe look. And I want to store that here. And if I clear out, oops, I wanted to store that. Yeah, that's where I want it. Okay. Then I got some configuration I have to do. So I need to name it first. So call that wash flash. And to go to the handle, I want to make the encoder the rate. I want to make the key a flash. And then I want to make sure that this is assigned to this Speedmaster. That way it corresponds. So now if I hold this down, I get my spots, there's my wash, and they're pretty much synced up as far as like what speed they're going at, just because they're all assigned to the same Speedmaster. So if I go to this page and I crank that Speedmaster up, prepare yourself, it's going to be really quick. Or if I crank it down really low, it's going to be really slow. And I think I actually did put some fade time in on those spots just because the snapping was a little too aggressive. But it should be fine. But yeah, alright, now let's do these strobes. Same idea. Grab the arena strobes. If we want to make sure it's just the white value. So in order for this to work, we actually we don't. We're just gonna set the white value to, I don't want to do 100 because these things are super bright in real life. Put them like 55. These are basically like a JDC1, by the way, in case you're wondering what an arena strobe is. It's basically a JDC1 with less sections, and it's about the same brightness. But we set that to bright, and then on step 2, we set it to not bright. We do the transition thing again, 0%, 0%. We go to speed, 400 BPM. Phase, we go to shuffle, and then 0 to 360. And it should be relatively random. That's what we want. And we store it. Now we go to busk. Take this, label it as strobe flash. Speedmaster should be Speedmaster 4. We go to encoder, we go to rate, key, flash here, and that should be pretty good. So now we have a strobe flash, a chameleon flash, basically flash every group on this rig. It's pretty helpful. So that's the flash effects. Next we have to do a tilt effect for the 460, or for the spots on the floor. So we're just gonna go these. And I guess we can put up a full. We don't need to. Well, actually, we do to see what we're doing. We're going to go to phaser. We're going to run a tilt sign effect, and that's just going to do this. I'm happy with that. And then I'm just going to go to phase, position, and do that. So these should be 360 out with each other. Now that that's happened, I can go ahead and take the dimmer value out. Or I want to remove the dimmer value. I don't want to have 0 in there because then it's going to be at 0. I want to remove it. And that's our tilt, so I'd store that there. And that's pretty good. So now I can take this, and we can call it 460 floor. Oops, tilt. We don't want to have a Speedmaster on there. You want to have the encoder be a toggle. An encoder be a rate, and this to be a toggle. Yep, that's good, or it should be. So now if I were to turn on this sequence here, and let's do some gobos to make everything look a little better. If I were to run a tilt effect there, tilt effect, oops, why are those, oh, because that's their pan effect, that's what they're panning. Pan effect here, tilt effect, should not be running on those. So that's a simple fix. I'm going to grab that sequence right there. I'm going to go to 460 floors, I'm going to remove fixture 105 and 106, and I'm going to store, oops, and then I'm going to store, I have the sequence selected. Yeah, I'm going to store Q1. So now, if I run this sequence, those don't get told anything because we removed them, remember? So yeah, all of those work. Our chameleons are panning. If we move these out a little bit, you can kind of see it a little better and zoom them in. If it was running, you would be able to see it a little better. There we go, chameleon pan. Okay. And then chameleons tilt. It's pretty easy. And then the chameleons on the floor can tilt as well, but we need to fix that because that's a bit of a mess. So let's solo those. And let's go phaser, tilt. I'm actually going to build a phaser from scratch to show you all how that's done. So we're basically going to take this and we're going to go ahead and add relative points. So we have 0.1, oops, double oops, 0.1, right here. Well, I don't want them to do that. I want them to tilt. So now, yeah, so I basically just built 2 relative points. Down, up, down. It's a little too far down, so I'll move it. Up, down, up. Alright. And then I should be able to go to position and phase and run that as a 180. And then store that as a Q. So now, if I were to run this, that is very questionable. I'm not sure why they did that. I'm gonna oops this a few times. Delete Q1. So now if I run that, oops. Tracking, there's nothing in Q1. Oh, we'll have to do that again. Let's solo the floor chameleons. Let's do a phaser. Let's add a relative point about out here. Position, phase, 180, store Q1, merge. Oh, there's actually something in Q1, that's good. If we run it, we can see that's all doing its thing. And then this should be our rate control, so we can control how fast this is going on the fly. And crank it up. Yeah, that's good. Next thing I'm gonna do is basically do some symmetrical circle effects. These are pretty easy. I'm gonna show you how to do this because I figured it out last night, because this is the first song I programmed where I actually used that, and that was pretty cool to have. And then I think after I show the symmetrical circle thing, let's see, how long have we been going for here? Let's see. Streaming for, jeez, 43 minutes. So I'm going to show you how to do symmetrical circle, and once we've done that, we'll probably call it a day. So symmetrical circle, what does it look like? Well, let's do that. First thing I'm going to do is get rid of you and you. Let's take our chameleons, let's put them at full, and let's keep them zoomed in. Let's put them like right here. Right here. Okay, gosh. Floors need to be here. Okay, so a symmetrical circle looks like this. If I would take all my chameleons and apply it, there we go. They're running a symmetrical circle. But that's not as interesting, per se, as like let's do some phase stuff. So we simply take our chameleons, phase, and we run like this. Oops, we run like this, I believe, right? I had it in that queue. Oops, we should be, I think it's 0 through 360 through 0. There we go, that's what we want. Ish. But yeah. It was in my, that one cue on the song, the last cue of the song. If we bring that in, and we like go to cue 21. Oops. Go to cue 21. That's a symmetrical circle right there. So that's what it looks like when it's all said and done. I'm not sure. Can I store this? Because this has like, that's perfect. I guess I can't. But it should be moving in basically in groups like that. So the way that this is done is by basically, I used predefined phasers. So there's a macro that imports like these 18 phasers or these 20-ish phasers that are all just predefined. And the way that you can make a circle out of these is using recipes. So basically, I'll take one half. Let me go into this recipe. So this has two lines in it. The first line takes the left half of the rig and applies the circle phaser to it. The second line takes the right half of the rig and then applies the inverted circle effect to it. So you can probably get the picture. That is basically just taking each half and applying an inverted version of the preset to it. So now, if I take these, turn them on, zoom them in, and run it, you can see. Let me move them outwards. Yeah, if I take chameleons, and I run that, there we go. We have basically two circles inverted of each other running as such. So now what we basically want to do is we want to make sure that every other... The best way to get this effect is to then take these, go to matrix, and basically apply wings of 2. Well, I thought so. And then once we have our wings of 2, we can apply a phase to that, and that gets you this effect. And that doesn't need to be so fast. So what we just did is basically we took, so a wing is every other fixture coming inwards. So if we take a look at this, that's a wing. It's half of the rig. And it's basically taking every other, or it's taking the rig, splitting it in half along the x-axis and doing that. We could also do it along the y-axis, but that's a little too complex, just even for me, so I don't really feel like going into that detail. But that's how I created the symmetrical circle. If we want to look at like some color wipes maybe, so like here's a color wipe. It goes from left to right across. And the way this works is these are a bunch of recipes that reference, let's see, there's somewhere in here, there's some color presets. These color presets are referenced in these recipes, as well as in a matrix 100. And then basically what I do, I haven't made these yet, but I'm going to make a bunch of predefined matrix, and I'm going to copy those matrix to that one that they're referenced by. So imagine like these recipes. Let's take a look at one real quick. It's got group, it's got a preset, and it references a matrix X. So what's basically going to happen is we're going to write some macros that are going to copy a matrix A, B, C, D, E, F, G at a matrix X, replacing it. And then these all reference a matrix X. So then we can basically swap out a matrix on the fly. And the reason we want to do that is for something like a layout view like these, which I haven't made yet, but we're going to basically be able to click like wings, or like right now these have a, as you saw, like a color wipe defined to them, so it's going from left to right. But then we can have little icons that'll basically allow us to pick different matrix, which will run a macro and apply that to that matrix. So I'm going to do that right quick. So I can take this, and instead of having a delay and fade, maybe I want to do a delay from 1 to 1, and I don't know, blocks of 2. And now I have that. I'm not sure why it stopped. I can copy a matrix 1. I don't really feel like typing a matrix, so I'm gonna, oops, at a matrix 100 / overwrite. And now, if I take these, put them at full, put them here, and I apply one of these can see it does in blocks of 2, left to right, with a very quick delay time, different than it was before. Maybe I want to do wings of 2. Okay, well, let's do that. Let's, instead of doing wings of 2, let's do wings here. And then we'll run the same command, copy matrix 1 at matrix 100, please overwrite. And if we take those, and now we apply a color preset, it's going to apply itself in wings of 2. So you can see it's kind of coming inwards. That's what wings look like, essentially. So do. Go white. So that's kind of the idea behind the whole recipe thing as far as it comes to busking. So, I mean, I think today was a pretty productive stream, about 50 minutes. We kind of talked a little bit about everything from just programming a song like as a Q to Q method to a little bit of busking. I know a lot of this may be over some people's heads, no offense, but people who aren't familiar with MA lighting or just lighting in general at this level, but I just really wanted to share some stuff for people who would be interested in it. I'll put this in a separate playlist, so it's not going to get in the way of all the other audio stuff on the channel, but as always, thank you all for watching. Let me switch so you can actually see me here. Thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe. Support's always appreciated. Thank you so much, and I hope you all enjoyed this